But that's not because we didn't need health reform back in the Clinton era. We really did. And one of the kind of signature stories of that era for why we needed health reform was what they called drive-by births or drive-through deliveries. Insurance company rules that said women had to be out of the hospital within 24 hours after giving birth.
4 million new babies arrive each year.
Say baby. Good.
What many parents think isn't so good is how soon mother and baby go home.
So you're all set to go, then make sure you...
Not so long ago, mothers and newborns would stay to recover for a week or more. Today, they head home sooner than ever, most leaving after 24 hours or following a cesarean section after just 3 days, a trend critics call drive-through delivery.
Nobody was happy about that in the early 90s. It seemed like the sort of thing insurance companies shouldn't be able to do. Nobody was happy about that. But specifically for a family not only having their first child, but having their first child with a serious and unexpected health complication, that rule, that 24 hours and you're out rule, that was almost unbelievable. And for this one couple, having their first child in 1995, it came down on them like a ton of bricks. Their newborn girl was born with a condition in which she was unable to swallow. They thought at first she was going to need emergency surgery right after she was born. They decided that first day she'd have to be transferred to a neonatal specialized care unit. She had this incredibly dangerous condition. But still, at 11 p.m. that night, the hospital kicked the new mom out of the hospital. We'll keep the baby. You have to leave. And it turns out that happened to the wrong new mom. Because once the initial crisis of their newborn baby daughter's health was stabilized, it took a long time, once it was stabilized, that new mom went nuclear. And she did it in the nicest, most constructive, and most hilarious way possible. She decided to fight in her state's legislature for one of the first laws in the country that would guarantee new moms and their babies at least a 48-hour hospital stay. She testified in support of the bill, realizing that talking about stuff like episiotomies and breast pumping in her testimony would have the advantage of being so embarrassing to a still male-dominated legislature that it made it nearly impossible for them to not pass the legislation. And she did get the legislation passed. The legislature voted for the law, but even when they knew they had won, they'd gotten the law, the health industry and hospital lobbyists were still fighting to delay the law's implementation. So she had another great brainstorm that was also very funny. She found giantly pregnant women to bring to the state committee meeting, making the decision about when to implement the new law. She brought very visibly pregnant friends with her, enough to outnumber the insurance lobbyists who were already packing the room. And when the legislators asked when the bill should take effect, the giantly pregnant moms all raised their hands and said, now? Now? We need this. And she won that fight. And that was her first ever political fight. And that is how the great state of Minnesota got rid of drive-through deliveries. And women in that state got the right to stay at least 48 hours in the hospital with their new baby. She won that first fight in Minnesota. And then ultimately that became federal law, too.